Hello everyone, my name is Andrew, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about what I wish I knew as a computer science major in college looking to become a software engineer. The goal of this video will be to help you guys learn from kind of like the mistakes or things that I missed out on during college that if you were to do them, I think you would get a lot better results. But luckily I still was able to get 2 full-time job offers straight out of college, even though I went to a lesser known university and a 3.4 GPA, so wasn't even the best GPA, but I was still able to get an internship as well as 2 full-time offers. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the most important thing during your college time is networking, and this is with students, teachers, administrators, even people like campus recruiters. Networking with these people will be extremely beneficial to you, even 1, 2, or 10 years down the line, because you never know when your paths might cross again in the future, and this could always help you get a job in the future as well. Like in my story, I've gotten 3 interviews just from having networking with people, and I know networking can sound scary because not everyone wants to just go out and talk to people, and it feels kind of icky to some people to be like, oh, I'm just talking to this person to network to kind of get a connection that could hopefully benefit me in the future rather than a genuine connection. Or some people may think, oh, I'm an introvert, I can't connect with people or network with people because it's too hard. But even me, I am very introverted. I'm not the best at talking with people, but you have to kind of think of the long-term value from doing this and how important it is to your career, because you can make excuses or kind of like be fearful as much as you want, but at the end of the day, if you do not network, this is very limiting to your career and very harmful for your career as well. So number 1 is to connect with people that are in the same area or field as you. Number 2 is working on side projects and coding projects that actually have purpose. When I first started out, I was working on like YouTube tutorials, like making a YouTube clone app or something, just HTML, CSS, and like very basic projects that really had no use, and I was just following along, typing along, wasn't really learning anything of value. And doing that put a very big like halt on my progress as a software engineer. And at the time I thought I was like making so much progress. I thought doing all these projects, making these clone apps, following along with these tutorials meant I was a software engineer. But when I looked back at it, I was like, I didn't build anything. I just copied text that someone else thought of, and it had no use. So there was really no value in the project that I built. Luckily, I was able to learn from people that I connected with and learn that in order to get internships and full-time roles, you have to have side projects and show that you are actually passionate about the field. And I know this isn't common for most fields. Like you don't see lawyers making side projects as a lawyer, but in computer science, since it's so competitive and so many people want to become software engineers, especially for these tech companies, like the big tech companies like Fang, you need to find a way to stand out, and having side projects is the number 1 way to do that. So what I recommend is to find a problem that you have, like it can be even a very small problem, and just think of a way to solve it. And if it's too big, I would definitely not recommend doing that, because if you're just starting off as a software engineer, you cannot solve a huge problem, and this will make you feel like a failure if you are not able to do it. So I would recommend starting with something small, getting that success, getting that kind of validation that you are able to build something useful, and then grow from there. You could always make bigger projects in the future, but right now as a beginner, you just want to build something very small. It could be, just off the top of my head, something that calculates your high yield savings account's return on investment over a year's time. And then if you want to build on top of that, you could add a login system so that people could create an account. You can learn how to deploy that system, build a database for the users that join the account, use APIs that grab public high yield saving account data, and then kind of just go from there. But like, as you can see, the tool itself is very small. It's just calculating percentage return on a high yield savings account. But you can learn so much from that, because you can, 1, build a database, build authentication, use APIs, deploy it. Like there's so much to learn, but just it's you don't need to worry about having the biggest tool. You don't need to make the next Facebook when you're first starting off. And I think that's one of the biggest traps that most people fall into, or at least I fell into after I got out of my tutorial phase. I wanted to build a marketplace for trading cards, and it took me like 8 months to build, and I got all the way to the end, and then I tried to partner with someone because I couldn't start the marketplace without partnering. There's a bunch of like kind of like legal stuff, and then it ended up not even being able to be launched. So I spent all that time for really no reason. I wasn't able to prove the value to anyone because I couldn't show it off. And then having that kind of failure made me feel like very defeated. And I stopped coding for like a few weeks after that happened because I just didn't want to code anymore because I was going full in coding every day for a project that didn't even come to fruition. So it was very painful to go through. So that's what I would recommend. Start with something small, build your confidence, use a language that's very commonly known. I would recommend Python or Java. Honestly, Python is easier, but Java is more used in large enterprises. So if you want the best chance at getting a job, Java is the best in my opinion. And number 3 is joining clubs or doing hackathons. And this one is good for many reasons because one, you get to be around like-minded individuals and you get to learn and grow with each other about the field that you're in. And it also gives you, one, it's a resume booster because you can say like you're a member of a club for X amount of years, or you were the president of a club if you want to reach that level. So that is something that people or companies really like. They like to see that you're part of groups, and even better, you were a board member or someone like higher up in the club. That is a very good thing to have. Unfortunately, I was not in a club, and I think that really hindered my chances at getting a role at like a large tech company because all I had to show for was side projects and grades and networking. But I think being in clubs would definitely be helpful. And then the other thing was the hackathons. If you have a group of friends, I don't know if you're able to join it like individually, but if you have a group of friends that are in the field with you and you can join a hackathon together, that would be, one, it would be very fun, I think. And two, it's very rewarding because a lot of companies go to those hackathons to recruit people actually. So if you, let's say you win first place in a hackathon, then you will most likely get at least one interview from companies that attended. Like I saw recently, Nvidia had a hackathon and they were sponsoring it, and I believe the winners were getting like full-time internship or full-time roles, or at least an internship with Nvidia. So just being able to dedicate like, I believe they're like 24 hours to get a full-time role is a very huge return on your investment. And last but not least is your GPA. I think a lot of people kind of overlook the GPA, or some people think it's the most important thing in the world and they disregard all the other things I mentioned in this video to focus on GPA. But you kind of need to have a middle ground with your GPA. As long as it's above a 3.3, I would say, I think you are fine. Preferably like the higher the better, of course, but GPA is, I don't think it's the most important thing as long as you have it to show for. But I would definitely not recommend emphasizing GPA over networking or joining clubs or doing side projects, because at the end of the day, I believe these companies are aware that like the stuff you learn in school is not useful to the job. So like, let's say like in one of my classes, I was learning linked list, and that was like, we spent like 2 months on that linked list and binary trees, stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, you will never, or most likely you will never create or manage a linked list in your job. So while like that stuff is important to learn for your school and for your classes, you will not use it in the jobs. So you don't need to feel like your GPA is the defining thing of your character or your chances of getting a internship or full-time role. And actually one more thing, which is very important, is to try to get an internship as early as possible. And this is obviously, it's a lot easier said than done, but getting internships, if you can get an internship in your freshman year as a software engineer, you are set, in my opinion, because one, it looks amazing on your resume, and two, you can continue growing from that. So having internships on your resume is probably the greatest thing to have, because one, it shows validation. It shows that you have been validated by another company already. Two, it shows that you are capable and that you have learned actual skills that are used on the job. And three, you also get paid for it. So, or you should get paid for it. I don't know. Some internships are unpaid, but I don't know if they still do that anymore. But getting paid to code is very like rewarding, and if you love coding, then it's a win-win situation. You get to get paid for what you enjoy doing. So I'd recommend getting internships as soon as possible, because like in my scenario, I didn't get an internship until my junior year. So I was only able to have one internship before I graduated, which was for sure not the best when it came to looking for a full-time role. Luckily, I was able to pull through and get a full-time role, but it was definitely scary during those first few months when I was applying and not receiving any feedback or like any responses. But yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a lot, and also that you will not make the same mistakes as me and learn from my experiences. Bye.